Hey guys, Skyon here, also known as Geek Detective Pierce. So I had to delete the other upload I did recently, so I'm gonna have to do this really quick. I'm just gonna be giving general thoughts on this episode of Boxing Bopperoo. And just to give a quick note, yes, I know Pua Magasiva, who played Shane, is no longer with us, as well as Grant McFarland, so rest in peace to both of those two. And for those of you who actually pay attention to tiny details, if you notice that Grant McFarland played Lothor, if you listen carefully, if you watch this episode, that he's actually not only doing one character, but two. Because he also does the voice of Sensei on the opposite side. That being said, I'm just going to have to use screenshots and then just narrate as I'm making this video. So I'll be uploading it in a few minutes. Hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, so I'm gonna have to try to make this quick. I'll have to put in some screenshots here and there that basically what's going on at the opening scene. You see Shane and Hunter just sparring, but due to both of these guys being competitive and they're in different sports, Hunter being a biker, and a motorist, sorry, not biker, wrong terminology here, and Shane being more into skateboarding, you get the sense that both of these guys are alpha males, and obviously Sensei kind of has to step in, and I'll put the screenshots in there shortly. So, as I mentioned a while ago, Sensei does have to stop these two from, breaking up the team. And despite them going into the shop and the owner of the sports shop, suggesting that Shane and Hunter team up for it, it doesn't quite go out as well. And Tori points out, kudos to the scriptwriters on this, and here we see two alpha males in their natural habitat, which basically both Hunter and Shane are. And then when it gets down to the actual practice of the event, you see them doing the exact opposite of what they're good at. And despite, Dustin and Blake trying to give them pointers and all of that, unfortunately, their egos, in a sense, does kind of get in the way, which leads to obvious wipeouts. But then, when it comes to fighting against Bopperoo, that's where things take a slight odd turn. In terms of, I guess I would say, I don't know if I would say the writing, but more like, what the hell are we even fighting here? Which lasts for, I'd say, about a few minutes, and then they're not the only ones who are confused. Even Lothor gets confused, and he's like, whose idea was it to bring up this whatever it is? And he's just making up a bunch of words that annoy him so much. And I'm just going to be quoting here, kudos to Grant McFarland and him portraying both characters. He says to, not just his subordinates, but also to the monster, he's like, okay, whoever comes up with the next, made up word has to put a certain amount of money inside this jar here. And of course, that damn, a marsupial can't shut his mouth. And then Mara and Capri are like, yeah, you see this jar here? I will admit that the show was a little bit laid back. It's pretty funny, and it really gets to a point of, like, they're just trying to make a certain point, of one has to lead and then the other one follows, which is exactly what Sensei points out as the fight, drags on. And eventually, the two manage to overcome their differences to a point. And then towards the end, despite them winning, they go back to their old, I don't know if I would say rivalry, but more their competitive side. And then Tori's like, well, at least it's a start. So that being said, if I had to list some strong points on this one and some, I guess I could say minor gripes, I would say the pacing is okay, but I might be wrong. The writing, however, I really enjoyed on this, despite the fact that the creature is, well, I guess I could say an odd way of the whole, I don't know if I'd say boxing kangaroo, more like a fighting roo. I've heard this one back in the day. I don't know if it was like through a meme or a cartoon or something, but for those of us who have been around before the internet existed, such things have been depicted before. As for where to find it, that's another matter, which I guess you could say was like the idea for how it was with Hurricaneer, which is where Ninja Storm started, because it started in Japan. And I only found out about this, right after the credits rolled. Right before it finished, I then spotted the Japanese title. And kudos to Adam Tuominen. I apologize, sir, if I mispronounce your name, but this was one that I found really good. And for those of you who follow him on Instagram, he has mentioned that at the start of the episode, that sparring scene between Hunter and Shane was his favorite to actually film when doing this episode. I don't know, as I stated at the start, or at least I should have, I don't know if he actually mentioned it to other fans when the whole question of, what was your favorite episode or favorite scene to work on. He definitely brought this up, when it comes, for those who met him at Power Morphicon. I don't know how it is for some of the others, but frankly, I never got the chance to talk to them. But that being said, I know that, Mr. Magasiva is definitely missed by the cast in general, as well as the fans. And again, they really did a good job on this episode, especially with the fact that there's a lot of humor in this one. Now, whether others had more compared to this, it's hard to say, but I will say that this episode was pretty funny in terms of the writing. So again, kudos to the writers on this. But this is just me giving my general thoughts on this episode of Boxing Bopperoo. That being said, I hope you guys liked it. This is Skyhound, also known as Geek Detective Pierce, signing off for now. May the power protect you. Peace.